Well, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to another podcast. Again, sorry it's been a while. So I'm out doing a bit of dry fly today. We have just seen the first start of the mayfly hatch. Although it's a nice afternoon actually. It's overcast, there's a few fish sipping. Not seen any mayflies. In fact, I can't see much fly life at all. So I think they're sipping on some of the very small gnats and midges and smuts and whatever. So I've got the 9'5" weight fast action rod. I've got a weight forward floating line, 9-foot tapered leader, and then about 3 to 4 feet probably of fine tippet. Just getting in the river now, wading down. What we've got here, we've got a long wide piece of river, but actually the current is actually snaking down in big S shape, fairly shallow as well, so it's perfect for dry fly. The leaves are all out, the willows are overhanging. It's a beautiful afternoon. The surrounding meadows are just full of yellow flowers, and it's a perfect fishing afternoon, which is lovely to be out on. I can't see a huge amount rising. There's the odd fish just sucking something down, but I think it's worth a go with the dry. So I'm going to prospect it with it fish blind, covering the likely areas, and then what I'll do is I'll cover any fish I see rising. So it's nice kind of bubbly, ripply water here, and it's shallow, so anything that is down feeding on nymphs, it hasn't got far to move, as it were, to come up and take your dry. I'm just going to nice and steady and just cover the likely lies. I have seen a fish or two sipping, but they seem to be just almost sipping beneath the surface in the slacks, and not much, even though there's a bit of fly life around. But I think if we can just cover one with a dry, then we might just get a rise. So the fly I've got on is just an Elk Caddis in a 14, so it's fairly big, but the water here is reasonably bubbly and got a bit of turbulence to it, so nothing wrong with using a slightly bigger fly. I'm going to get down a little bit further then. I can just prospect my way up this run. I'm going to fish fairly quickly as well, cover some water today. I'm going to start, and there's a big overhanging tree and just a seam of current and a lot of scum collecting on the left in a big back eddy. So I think if I can just fish that seam for starters, there's probably a fish or two in there, and hopefully they'll be willing to rise. Right then, start here with a few short casts and just let that fly work down. Upstream we go. I'm just going to prospect and cover the water. I'm not going to fish a particularly long line either. Just short, accurate casts into the likely areas. Casting in a fan shape above me. Clever, is it? There's a little bit of a downstream wind, which is a bit naggy, but and if the Elk Caddis doesn't work, then in this turbulent water, a great big mayfly, and just run that down and see if that provokes something. I've just seen a bit of a splash further up, which is good. So when there's just the occasional rise like this, it's just covering water. I mean, fishing a duo, clink and dink would probably be a good idea today, or nymphing. I reckon you could catch on all sorts of different methods today. But I just fancy a dry. I've done so much nymphing over winter, and I fancy just the lightness and the simplicity of a bit of dry fly fishing today. Right, let's just put it in some of these shallows. And the lovely thing about these elk hair caddis is they stand out. The bleached elk hair just stands out so nicely, so easy to see. and they float like a cork, so great flies for prospecting. Apart from that one fish upstream, I've not seen anything else rise, so it's certainly not on fire this afternoon. Although it's a perfect fishing afternoon, and there was a few rising this morning when I was out. I keep poking this elk hair up. I'm just marked to rise a little further up. I think it's the same fish that rose a few minutes ago. The river's lovely and wide and shallow here, so nice dry fly water, just moving at a bit of pace, allowing you to run the fly down. And right, I'm going to go across stream a bit now and try and cover on the far bank. There's like a seam of current running just off of the far bank. I'm just going to put a few across. The river's really wide here. It's probably 50, 60 feet across in places, but a lot of that is now shale and gravel as the water levels have dropped. Lots of beautiful trees just overhanging in places, and then, like I said, the wildflowers are really starting to come on now in the bank, and the cow parsley, as we used to call it as kids, is sprouting up. Very pleasant afternoon, proper spring day. Nothing across there, so just shorten the line a bit and get back going upstream. I'm just fishing these shallows as well. Oh, there's a rise in front of me. Right, let's see if I can cover that. No, he's only shown one time. I'm just going to rest it. It's only the second fish I've really seen rise, so just going to stop casting for a minute and see if he'll show again, and then I'll try maybe covering with might be worth just sticking a big mayfly on. Right, I popped on a big old grey wolf, size 12. Sometimes you want to go big, so let's have a little go with that. And I'm going to continue prospecting up with a great big mayfly on. Right, I'm just approaching where I have seen a fish rising from downstream. Slowly working my way up to it. Probably not far off where my fly's just gone, actually. Yes, fish on. Oh, well, that took some time. I actually saw that one rise and just switched to a, go on, don't go in the quick water. Feels like a little wild rainbow, this. It is. Oh, a scrappy thing, come on. There we go, in the net. Oh, thank goodness for that. Perfect. Little wild rainbow, about half a pound, something like that. I'll slip you straight back. I'd actually come out the rough water. I'd fished up for probably 10-15 minutes, not had a rise. I'd seen one. And then I moved up to a very still bit of river at the top of the riffle. And there's a few fish flicking up, so I've actually scaled it right back to a little Griffiths net. And saw one rise and covered it, and it's took it straight away. Let's proceed further up this water. What I'm going to do is just probably not fish until I see a rise, and then just try my best to cover it. I think is probably a good tactic. There's one rise right in front of me. They're not kind of rising consistently. There's just the odd fish sipping, and they're not rising kind of time after time. They're all kind of once or twice, and then it's not easy fishing when it's like this. But it's fun. Right, I'm just going to put a little bit of degreaser on my leader, just try and disguise that a touch. So this river has gone very still. There's overhanging bushes on one side, big old tree on the other side. There's some hawthorns, there's some willows, and the river's just gliding through at a leisurely pace, and the reflections of the trees are quite vivid actually because the water's so slow. It's very pretty. There's a fish just come right out above me. And I've got the little Griffiths net on. I think it's about a 16. I didn't really look at it when I got it out, so just going to work this out over anything I see sipping as best I can. And then I'm going to wade up ever so slowly and carefully, super stealthy. Because it's very easy on these pools to put bow waves up and spook everything. I'm just covering a fish here off to the left. It's just under some overhanging bushes, classic lie. Difficult cast. I'm just going to try my best to get a fly in and cover it. Oh, perfect cast that, if I do say so myself. Come on, you know you want it. Yep, hammer in. Oh, perfect. I saw that rise in front of me and covered it. Threw a bit of slack line in the cast just to give it a bit of a better presentation. It nailed that straight away. Brownie this time. Fantastic. Come on, you. Yeah, there we go. Cracking. I'll slip you back. Right, so I'm just going to pause for a second or two and just see where the nearest fish is. I think there's still one under that tree on the left bank, and there's one on the right bank as well. Okay, left bank first, that's the closer one. There's a fish, actually it's finning in front of me, it's showing its fin. It's probably just fishing just under, taking just under the surface. You never know, I might be able to tempt it with a dry. Creeping up the river so slow. So many people when they're fishing clomp around in the waders. Got to take your time and go slow. And then if you put fish down, just cease casting, rest the pool. Okay, there's a fish out on the right. Let's see if I can cover you. Not quite. Creep a little bit closer. Oh, missed him. Missed that one. Right, there's 2 or 3 fish on my left here. One of them's I've risen to the fly and missed it, so I'm just going to rest the pool for 2 minutes. I'm going to put a bit more dry fly shake on just to get the fly back up again. And just see if they start confidently feeding. What we've got here, we've got a mix of fish. There's some that are actually will rise to stuff on the surface. And then there's 1 or 2 that are just taking beneath and they're not rising. And everything I've covered that's taking beneath hasn't touched the fly. And everything that I think is a rising fish taking off the top has actually had a go at my fly. So they seem to be quite fussy at the minute and on what they want. Right, let's just give it another second. So I'm all ready to cast, but I'm just waiting, just watching, just to see if these fish will rise. In the meantime, there's one risen to my right, so I think I can cover that without any danger of spooking the ones on the left. Let me just see if I can cover you. Interesting day today. The fish seem to be not on fire. They're sipping and then they're dropping off the rise completely. I mean, the river above me now has gone completely dead, nothing rising at all, and then coming back on again. So they're certainly, it's an interesting day. Not quite one thing or the other. And what's also been interesting is prospecting the dry, which is often really good. Not a bean. I've only risen fish or caught fish that I've seen. And quite often, if the fish are rising, you prospect up a bit of likely water, you'll get plenty. But not a bean today. Everything has dropped off completely. I'm just going to reel in and again give it a little time and just see where the next fish comes up from. So I can see a long way up the river here, so anything that flicks up in front of me for quite some time I can see. So just watching the river over the past 5 minutes, I've seen, every 30 seconds something flicking up over the next 200 or 300 yards. But it's completely gone, not a fish. There's a couple just started again under the trees on the left bank, so I think what I'll do is work my way up to them. Very, very steady and slow. My apologies for the lack of podcasts this year. It's been a really busy year in the shop, and then the rivers have been out of order for quite a lot of time as well, so it's been hard to actually get things done. Very still here, it's going quite deep actually. Not sure how much more I'm going to be able to wade. Oof. I had a little look at it there, that fish. Had a little look at my fly. Yeah, there we go. Oh, just a little bit more activity. It's just a little brownie, this one. There we are. Slip you back. Lovely. So yeah, it's just, again, 10 minutes of absolute nothing, and then 3 or 4 have all started just sipping at the same time, and I've covered one without joy and then covered the other and it hit it straight away. There's another one there under the tree. Let's see if I can cover you. Not far off it. Yep, in again straight away. Fantastic. Oh, it's off that one. Never mind. I've just started to come on the feed again, though. I am going to progress slowly but surely and just cover what I can see. Half wondered about switching to the clink and dink further down and fishing that quick water, but there's a big old tree up above me and there's fish rising under there, so I think that'll be a good spot. Maybe I'll just on the off chance, just sling one under the bushes as I wade on the left hand side. Just sling one right under the trees. You never know. And we're in straight away. That you believe it. Just prospecting. There's some lovely looking bushes and the water's just running right under the bushes, and as soon as that hit, something just came out and sucked it down. Another brownie. There's in the net. Lovely. Oh, we're having a good afternoon. I'm always telling my clients that on guided days and lessons, and I'm glad I did it myself, which is, if you see fish rising, always, and you're going to go over to them, always fish your way up there, always prospect the river as best you can and to the right towards the fish, because you quite often pick up a bonus one that you don't know is there. And that was just that case. I mean, it looks super fishy. Imagine overhanging trees and a slow bubble stream just meandering under. I'm just going to put a few more out as I wade up. I mean, nothing big this afternoon. They've all been, little wild brown trout, but great fun. And that was an interesting rise. It was just a suck down from underneath. I saw the fly and then just saw the fly disappear, and just a little disturbance under the fly, and that was enough to cause me to strike. That's a nice little spot just there where there's a little bit of quicker bubble stream just flowing next to some tree branches that are draping off the bank into the river. I bet there's a fish there. Again, I can see where I want to get to, but I'm just going to fish these nice spots on my way up. No mayflies this afternoon. I've seen a few earlier, but there's been a few sporadically over the last few days, but not seen anything this afternoon. It's mainly gnats and midges and the odd yellow may just fluttering about. Right. So this is getting to this big tree now where there was a few rising. And just put my fly out. Oh, there's a suck of a fish there sucking a fly down. There it is, just off where I said, where those branches are draping into the river. I can probably cover that from here. It's only rising a foot off the leaves though, so I'm going to have to be steady I don't drop it in the tree. Just needs to be another 3 inches. I missed you. Oh, I covered him and he took it. He might take it again. I didn't connect with it at all. I think he turned away from the fly at the last second, I think. I'll give it one more cast and then I might just rest that fish for a minute. That was a brown trout as well. I saw its head as it came out. Right, I'm just going to rest that fish, and there's one in front of me now, so I'll cover that one. Oh, I'm a bit too far left there, but I'll fish it out anyway. There's a huge overhanging tree over the river here, and then there's a boulder or rock just creating a V in the middle of the river. It's just pushing the water a little bit, and there's fish just sipping in that V as it's pushing the flies and bits that are coming down the river. That's a bit better. If I don't move, I've got 2 or 3 options here. You can hear the chiff-chaffs in the trees, which means summer's nearly here, basically, I think. Right, I've rested this little fish on the left here, so I'm going to try covering him again. Yeah, got you this time. Got you this time. That's a better fish as well. Oh, it's off. Oh. It was on, and it was a bigger fish, and it was just getting down to the roots, and I just had to bully it and have it come off. Oh well. I think that hook point's just dulled a bit, so I'm going to nip that fly off and put another one on. Never mind. It's all good fun. Right, onwards and upwards. Yeah, I'm very careful with my hooks. The second that hook point feels even the slightest bit dulled, it's either out with the hook hone and sharpen it up, or just put another fly on. And you will dull hook points on fish, surprisingly. They've got quite bony mouths and toothy fish, and it just only needs to take a little bit on the point just to dull, and you're not getting the hold that you want. Right, just above the boulder there's one flicking up. Boulder in the middle of the river, so see if I can cover you. Bit of a trickier cast. And then I've got a little bit more river I'm going to cover, see if I can pick up a couple more, and then that'll be me done. It's been a pleasant afternoon. There's a big rise there, something. Right under the bush, that was. Right, so I'm just heading around the corner. I know this bit of river quite well. There's a big bubble stream comes in, and a little island in the middle of the river. And there's a good fishing on both sides of the island where the current's forced, around the island. So I'm just going to have a wander up here. I can already see 1 or 2 flicking up in the bubble stream. So I'm going to cover anything I can see here. and then I will call it a day. And the wagtails are over the river gobbling up was that a yellow may or a mayfly? I couldn't quite see. It only hatched off, it just took off from the river, and a wagtail came out of nowhere and nailed it. Right, let me get in this bubble stream. What have we got here? Anything I can see rising? Right up in the, yeah, there they are. They're quite a way up. So again, I'm going to prospect up to them. Nice open, huge open piece of river this. 50, 60 feet across. Very wide and shallow and coming down at a slow pace. Perfect dry fly water, really. Yeah, they're all, nothing rising close to me. It's about, everything's about 50, 60 feet. So just meandering my way up there and keep casting in front of me as I go. A mayfly just come off there in front of me. Nice big mayfly. Oh, I missed you. I covered that perfectly in there. He missed it. That's all part of the dry fly fun, isn't it? Right, into the fast riffly stuff. And because I've got a big mayfly on, it's worth having just to cast up the fast water in the mayfly, just see if anything will suck it down on the way up. Probably a bit early yet, but in the summer you will get fish in this very fast water. And short line, long leader, tap it out, high rod, and just let the fly kind of float down, bubble down, and you can get fairly close to them and just see if anything grabs it. Like that. Oh, it had a go at it, it had a go at it. I think it missed it. I love it, this kind of fishing in the fast water with a dry. I can see the dry, it's floating beautifully. It's big yellow mayfly. And a brownie just came out of nowhere and just had a go at that mayfly in the fast stuff. And it's quite often, I mean that was an exception, but quite often it's a good hook up rate here because they really hammer them as they come down. There, they go for it, they go for it. But unfortunately, that one missed it. Another reason these lovely fast action rods is why I find them so useful is for not casting a long line, but actually for casting a short line, because you can really tap out a dry and turn it over almost with just a leader out. And for this kind of fishing it's incredibly useful. Come on, there's got to be another one in here just willing to nobble my mayfly. You can probably hear the water's just picked up. It's only ankle deep, very quick. Oh, I was gutted. That would have been my my favourite fish from the whole session, that one, if I got it. Well, that's me done. It's been a lovely afternoon dry fly fishing. I can't remember what I've had. I've probably 4, maybe 5. I've lost as many. I've plenty of little half takes and slashes at the fly, so thoroughly enjoyable afternoon. Thank you so much for listening. If you want any more info on our guiding or lessons, it's www.peaksflyfishing.com, and for our tackle shop, flies, etc., it's shop.peaksflyfishing.com. And as ever, if you're ever in the Sheffield area, pop into our Sheffield store and come and say hello. Until next time, bye bye.